Hello, this is the first from our 3-lesson series on implementation of the user registration use case. In this video, I'm going to explain you how to implement a basic sign-up. I will also cover essential checks and user notifications. I'm Lars from Digiterry. Let's begin. Let's quickly take a look at actions we are going to perform for the user registration and sign in. So we will have the user and ACME. The user, for example, wants to register using his username, email and password. We check this data, we check if the data is valid, for example, if email address is valid or if password has not less than 8 letters. And we try to save in our database. For example, in users table, we create a new record for our user with status 0. It means the user was inserted. If we could save this user, we return a success message to our user and let him know that he was successfully registered. In the second video, we are going to extend our registration functionality, and with success message, we will also send the activation link to this user. When the user clicks on this link, our system will check if the user exists with status 0. If the user exists, we will change his status to 1. It means active. It means after he activated his account, he can log in, and then we will let user know that his activation was successful. In the third video, we will implement the sign-in functionality, where the user can use his email address and password he typed in the first step and can log in. We will check these credentials in our database, we will search for the user and we will check if the user has status 1. If so, we will return success and we will log him in. So let's see how we can log in first. As we can see here, for login, we are using the site controller, action login. We want to make registration in a separate view. Yes, for example, we can do like this, that if you have no account, you can register and then you can click here. So let's create a new action. So we go first to our controller, site controller, and we can see here the action login. This page where we can log in. We create a new function, public function action register, for example. And we can also do like this, that only guests can access this page. If you are already logged in, you will be redirected to the home page. And then we say here return, the view will be called register, and for now we will not send any parameters, any variables to the view. Now we create the register.php in a site folder. So we go to views, site controller has this folder, and then we create a new PHP file which will be called register.php, and we just say here, for example, echo hello. So for now we can already access it, site register. As we can see here, the view is there, so we can see the message. But now, how can the user access this page? So we go to login page, and for example, add here the message if you have no account, as we said. So we go to site, login. So we don't need, for example, the breadcrumbs. Now we have here the title. Now we have here the message. Yeah. So we will say here we translate our message. It will be also in category application, and we say here if no account you can register. So now we can create a key in our translations in messages, English, application, and we say here if you don't have account, and translate it if you don't do not have an account yet, you can register. So this is the variable we send to the translation. As you can see here, it's not yet sent. That's why we will see here, if you don't have an account yet, you can register. So these variables we can send when we call the translation function from our EE framework, like a third parameter. First parameter is category, the second parameter is a message, and all these variables we can specify in the third parameter is an array. We say the register must be the link, so the link to the next page. So we say to the page of registration, we say HTML, it's a link. So with the text, we can also translate. We say, for example, it's a translation as well, the same category application, and we can say here register, and the URL will be, we specify site controller, and in this site controller we specify the register action. So now we can also translate the register in the application category, and we can say here, so it will be like this: if you don't have an account yet, you can sign up in Acme, for example, and it will be also displayed as a link. Let's see how it works. If you don't have an account yet, you can sign up in Acme. We click on this link and we are redirected to site to register, as we specified in the link. Site register. So now we can work on our view. For now it has only echo hello, but it will look like login page. So we use here active form. We're gonna also use this. We say we use HTML and active form. So the title will be register. So the title we can also, we have to translate it first. We say translation. Don't forget to translate everything. Titles, buttons, links, text, of course. So, and everywhere you will have EE translation. So the message will be, for example, sign up, and then we have here in the on the login page, so some title here, then some help text, and then comes the form. So let's try it. I will just copy and paste it. So for us, the title will be the title as well. Here we will have some help text, which is also translated. The same application category, and message, for example, it's completely up to you. You can use just please register. And then we have here the active form. So we're already using active form on Bootstrap. We say it has an ID, for example, register form. Layout has horizontal. Then we have here the field configurations and the template. Each input, it doesn't matter if you have here drop down or text area, we'll have first label, and then we'll have a next line. On the next line will be the div with class, with the Bootstrap class. Then we'll have the input, drop down, text array, or password fields, doesn't matter. On the next line we will have an error message. Error message which belongs to this input. So for example, it can say this input cannot be empty, this input must have some format, and so on. And label options, it's a label. This label will have these classes. So the next field is username, password, and remember me. As we can see, we have here the model, which we'll have create first in a site controller. Since we are registering user, it means we are creating new user, new record for user. We will use our model, use user from models, and we create a new model here. So we say, for example, new user, and we send this user to our view. So it means in the register.php, this variable will be available under this name. So we create here the, let's call it first register form, for example, and all the fields will be from this register form. So we create the for register form new field from the model, or the new user model that we send from controller. So these are fields which has this model. If we open the user model in our models, we can see all the fields we have: ID, EID, username, email, password, status, and so on. So all these we can specify here. But as you know, while registering, we don't let users send the status that they want to have, or the EID, or the ID which is specified from database, or creating an updated values. That's why we only say, give us your email address, password, or maybe username. So we say here, from the new user, username, which is auto-focused. When you open the page, this input will be auto-focused. You can directly start typing there. The second field, we can say it's email address. So we remove the autofocus. And the third field, it's a password. So it's a password input. We don't need to remember me, because we are just registering. We will have a submit button, which can be also translated, which must be actually also translated. So it's a text written on this submit button. It's application category and message. For example, we can say sign up, the same message which we have in title. It's button primary, so you can see all the available buttons on Bootstrap page. It can be primary, warning, and so on. And it will have a name, for example, register button. Then we are closing form, and so that's why this one we don't need. It's from login page. So now we will have the form to create a user. If we go to register, so we can see here form. Oh, I forgot to also use here register form field. So model, I forgot to say it's from the user model. So now we have a sign up. This is the help text. So as you can see here, from JavaScript comes already the validation rules. They are all required. We can see it in the user model. As you can see, username, email address, and password are required. Also UID. So we will now change a bit that UID will have some value. So for now, we can try to log in. We say, for example, username, for example, email address, and password, some password. As you can see, it didn't work because we are not catching first the submit button. As we can see from the site controller, we say here, we create a model, and if you send some post request, we are setting these variables to the model, so we can also use it. So we create new user, and we say here, if we are setting some fields for new user from the post, and if we can save this, then we go, for example, to our home page. So now we can see the error messages maybe. So we update and we can see already the values are here because we set from the post and we are sending this new user to our view, and that's why the fields are already there. But now we don't have any error messages. You see, all these fields are green. So I can say already that's a problem with our UID field. We are not setting and we want to save. That's why we don't see the errors for these fields because they are okay, but this field is not okay. That's why we can also see the messages, error message for other fields using error summary. So we can here say, for this form I want to see the error summary, and we are sending the model new model. Let's see what happens. As you can see, this block is coming from error summary. Yeah? So we have now like doubled error messages. If I, for example, remove it here and try to save it, you can see it shows twice here. We add this block only to see the error message for other fields. That's why we can fix it also. So we see here the UID is missing. That's why we will override our validate method in our user. So when we call new user save, it calls first validate and then it calls save. All models we extend from active record. When you call save method, calls always the method validate, which validates the rules for this model. We can override this before validate. So we say, for example, after rules, we say public function before validate. And we can see here also it calls the parent before validate. So now we can set our UID manually. So we say here, for example, this UID is, we will create some internal method like set UID, for example, and this method will be, since we are using it internally and we don't want to be accessible from outside, we create a private function, and we say it's set UID. Actually, this one also enough, because we can say here this UID and some random string. Yeah. So EE framework gives us also opportunity to create random strings. We will use some random string from password. We say E. So it was application get security and then generate password hash. So it will have some string with which is 60 chars long. We say, for example, to make it unique, there are a lot of options. So I'll just show the easiest one, the shortest one, but you can use another options to make it unique. We say, for example, as the input it will have a date with seconds, and we also make concatenation with some random string to make it random, for example like this. So how does it work? Actually, generate password hash is used for generating password hash, as you can see, and we give here inside the password that user gives us while registration. We will use this also for these purposes, but for this case there are a lot of another options to create UIDs, some unique IDs inside the table or inside the database. So that's why we also want to, for example, here we want to validate if it's only new record. There is also option. You say if this is new record. So we generate UID only if we are saving new record. So we say set UID and then we call this function and then it's set, and since it's a before validate, so when it comes to validation, this field will be all set and this required will be also there. So now we can try to save it. So we say sign up. So nothing happened because I have to here actually to return the parent. So I go to user model and I say here before validate, do something and then do what's in your parent. So because before validate has some source code also and must be called as well. Now I sign up again. As you can see, I went to the home page. In the site controller we said if I can load the fields for this model and if it is able to save, if I could save it, if the validation was okay and if the new record was sent to the database, then go to the home page. It means we have now one user in our user table. So we see it here. So the UID is okay, username is okay, email address is not okay because it's not valid email address. Password is not okay as well because it must be hashed. We cannot save the plain text in our database. And also the updated date is also not okay. So created, it's okay. Status is also okay. We can say here is the status 0 in our user. We create the constants. We say constant status, for example, inserted. It's a 0 because we have inserted. Then we have constant status active. It's 1, and for example, constant status blocked, for example. So it's completely up to you. You can have more or less statuses. So in our case, inserted, it's a default value in our table. That's why we have here 0. Now we will do that it will not be able to save if we are using not valid email address. It's also done very easily in the Yi framework in rules. So we say here that email address must be email address, valid email address. Now if I create one more user, log in, register, so username, for example, username, email address, for example, we can use some test at Gmail. It's not valid, of course. As you can see, there is also JavaScript already validating our email address, assay.com, and password. So it was saved. And also we can check the uniqueness of the email address. I can use the same test gmail.com, and we can see here it says that email address, so we have here doubled because I have here error summary. Test gmail.com has already been taken. So it checks also the uniqueness. It comes from the email address unique. Now we can also hash our password. So we go to user and we want to hash our password before saving. So we create here before save. We are also overriding it before save, and we say if it's new record, this password must be hashed. So we just copy and paste it, must be hashed, and as an input we give this password. So, and before saving our record, we are checking if we are saving, if we are really saving new record, and if yes, then we hash our password. And we can also here before save, so we have here, as you remember, updated field, so we say here this updated, so this up, we say updated new expression, we say database expression, we will use it maybe a lot here, so we say we are using expression, database expressions, and we say here updated new expression when we are updating the function now from SQL. Now let's try. So we say here test1 and register. So we could register here. So now we check the users. As you can see here, the last user was inserted. So we have also here the hashed password, and we have also here updated from the table view. It's okay. Actually, it's enough here what we've done. Now we can a bit change the registration view. For example, here after if you are sending the again test gmail.com, and if you are seeing here some password, so the problem is that we don't want to see the password again here. That's why in the view usually it is done in a form. So we go to register and say here the password input should have no value, always no value. So we say it empty, and if I sign up again, you can see the password must be typed again. So we also want to have some success messages when we could successfully register. So we say here in a site controller, before we go to home page, we set the flash. So we say application session set flash, so with the key success, and here for example the translated message from the category application, and say successfully registered. So, and this set flash is available only for the next page, so to the home page. So in my case, in our case, I will do it in a main layout. It means if you are setting some flashes with a success key or arrow key or whatever, you will see on all pages. So here we have a content, and before content we can display this message. Of course we can make it in, for example, in a login page or register page, but we will do it here, and it means it doesn't matter which controller you are using, on which view you are using, you will see this message because it appears in all pages. So let's see how it can be done. We go to Bootstrap and error messages, for example. So Bootstrap alerts, we see the components, and we can see here alert. So we'll use this missable alert. So I copy and paste it. So we go to main, and let's see what happens. So here we have div alert, alert warning, alert dismissible. It means the user can close it after it appears on the page. All these classes are available because while installing the Yi framework, the Bootstrap was installed as well. So then we have a button here to close, and then we have here the message. The message will be like this. So we first prove we first check whether we have some success messages. So we say here PHP if we have session, and we say get flash. So we say here the key, it was success. So if it's not empty, then we show this block, and we have here and if. And then as a message we show, of course, the message from this flash. So that's all. It means for all views, I repeat again, for all views, it doesn't matter which controller you are using, it will be displayed. If you are setting the success with the success key, some flash, the message will be appeared. And we need here not warning but alert success. So now let's try sign up. So we say here some new password with a test3 sign up. We can see here the success message and it's dismissible. I can close it. So that's all for this lesson. Now we can make an overview what we have done in this video. So we have controllers, models and views. When the user types our website URL and then site and register, he directly lands in our site controller in action register. Our action returns the register view in our site folder. The user sees the page where he can type his username, email address and password, and he sends this data to our action register again. So we see it was a post request here, and we can check data using our user model, using this validate function from our user model. For example, some data was incorrect or not valid. For example, email address was not correct, or password was too short, or some other rule was violated in our user model. So in this case, we say the user something was incorrect. Then user tries again and sends again username, email and password. And in this case, we also check if the data was correct. If the data was correct, the model can save the record in our database and returns true to our action register. As you remember, if we could save the record in our database, from the action register we redirect it to the home page, which is a site controller and action index in it, which shows the success message in our home page for the user. That's all for this time. It was the first from our 3-lesson series on user registration. You have learned which functions and modules you need to perform a basic sign-up. In the next lesson, we will take a look at email notifications, which are an important part for any login scenario. Thanks for watching. I wish you much fun with coding and good luck.